Strengthening a marriage without pleading begins with an honest realization that love is not meant to be begged for, chased, or earned through emotional exhaustion. Yet so many wives silently slip into this role because they care deeply, because they were taught that holding a relationship together is their responsibility, because they fear that if they stop trying, everything will fall apart. And this video is for the woman who is tired of explaining her pain again and again, tired of being the only one initiating connection, tired of feeling like her emotional needs are an inconvenience rather than a priority. So let me ask you something gently. When was the last time you felt truly chosen in your marriage without having to ask for it? Because many women don't realize the shift until they are already emotionally drained, until conversations turn into negotiations, until affection feels conditional, until they start questioning their own worth. Imagine a woman named Sarah. She loves her husband deeply. She believes in commitment, loyalty, and emotional honesty. But over time, she notices something changing. Her husband is present physically, but distant emotionally. Conversations are shorter, affection is inconsistent, and she begins doing what many loving women do. She tries harder. She becomes more understanding, more patient, more flexible. She initiates conversations late at night, hoping to reconnect. She explains how she feels in different ways, hoping something will finally click. But instead of bringing them closer, she feels smaller, unheard, and slowly invisible. And without realizing it, Sarah starts pleading, not loudly, not dramatically, but emotionally, through over-giving, over-explaining, over-accommodating. And psychology teaches us that when one partner consistently over-functions emotionally, the other unconsciously under-functions, not because they are cruel, but because the balance shifts. Effort stops feeling mutual, and desire rarely grows in an environment where one person is carrying the emotional weight for two. And this is where many wives misunderstand strength. They believe strength means holding on tighter, talking more, loving harder. But real strength in marriage often looks like emotional steadiness, calm boundaries, and quiet self-respect. Pleading weakens connection because it communicates fear of loss rather than confidence in worth. And humans instinctively respond more deeply to grounded energy than anxious energy, which is why the first and most important shift in strengthening your marriage without pleading is learning to emotionally regulate yourself before addressing issues. When you speak from overwhelm, your words carry urgency, fear, and tension. But when you speak from calm, your words carry authority and clarity. Emotional regulation is not suppressing your feelings. It is choosing the right moment and tone so your message can actually be received. Another powerful shift is understanding that repetition does not equal communication. Many wives repeat their needs, hoping consistency will create understanding. But clarity does not require repetition. It requires confidence. Stating your needs once with respect and calm communicates far more strength than explaining them 10 times with emotion. When you say something like, "I need emotional connection in my marriage," and then stop arguing, convincing, or justifying, you send a powerful message that your needs are valid and non-negotiable. Another essential part of strengthening marriage without pleading is learning to set emotional boundaries. Boundaries are not punishments, they are not silent treatments, and they are not ultimatums. Boundaries are quiet decisions about how you will no longer abandon yourself to keep the peace. When you stop overgiving, stop fixing everything, stop absorbing all the emotional labor, you create space for your partner to either step up or reveal where effort truly stands. And this is uncomfortable for many women because they fear that pulling back means losing love, but often it is the opposite. Space restores respect. Another crucial truth many wives need to hear is that you cannot convince someone to value you. Value must be chosen freely. And when you try to persuade someone to care, you unintentionally teach them that your needs are optional, which slowly erodes self-worth. Strengthening your marriage without pleading also requires detaching your self-esteem from your husband's behavior. When your sense of worth rises and falls based on how attentive, affectionate, or responsive he is, you give away your emotional power. But when you build a life that includes purpose, friendships, passions, and self-care outside your marriage, you show up fuller, calmer, and less dependent on validation. And that inner fullness changes the dynamic of the relationship. Another mistake many wives make is rushing to fix discomfort, silence, or distance. But growth often requires tolerating emotional uncertainty, allowing space without immediately filling it with explanations, messages, or emotional bids. When you stop chasing reassurance, you allow the relationship to reveal its true state, and clarity, even when painful, is healthier than false closeness. Strengthening marriage without pleading also means redefining what effort looks like. Effort is not words, promises, or apologies repeated without change. Effort is consistency, presence, and follow-through. And when you stop rewarding minimal effort with maximum emotional investment, the standard naturally rises. Another deep shift is learning to communicate from self-respect instead of fear. Fear says, "Please don't leave. Please understand me. Please change." Self-respect says, "This is what I need, this is what I value, and I trust myself to respond accordingly." This difference is subtle but powerful, and it transforms how your partner experiences you emotionally. Let me say this clearly: choosing not to plead does not mean becoming cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. It means becoming emotionally grounded. It means loving without losing yourself, caring without chasing, and showing up without self-betrayal. Many women fear that if they stop trying so hard, the marriage will fall apart. But ask yourself honestly, is a relationship truly strong if it only survives because you keep sacrificing your emotional well-being? Real strength allows space for mutual effort. Another important element of strengthening marriage without pleading is accepting what you cannot control. You cannot force emotional maturity, you cannot demand awareness, and you cannot love someone into changing. But you can choose how you respond. You can choose dignity over desperation. You can choose peace over chaos. And you can choose to honor your emotional needs without apology. And when a woman does this consistently, something shifts. Either the partner rises to meet her energy, or the truth becomes undeniable. And both outcomes lead to clarity, healing, and growth. Remember this deeply. Your worth does not decrease because someone fails to see it. You are not asking for too much. You are asking the wrong person to give what they are not yet ready to offer. Strengthening marriage without pleading also means learning to speak less but mean more, choosing quality over quantity in communication. Silence used wisely is not withdrawal, it is self-protection. Another powerful practice is responding instead of reacting. Reactions are emotional explosions fueled by accumulated hurt. Responses are intentional actions guided by self-awareness. And when you respond instead of react, you maintain control over your emotional narrative. As you grow emotionally, you may notice resistance, confusion, or even pushback from your partner, not because you are doing something wrong, but because the dynamic is changing, and change always creates discomfort before growth. Stay grounded, stay consistent, and trust the process. Healing a marriage does not mean returning to who you were. It means evolving into someone stronger, calmer, and more self-assured. A woman who knows her worth does not plead for love. She allows love to meet her where she stands. And even if the marriage takes time to rebalance, you will no longer be losing yourself along the way. Let this be the season where you choose emotional integrity over emotional survival, where you stop shrinking to fit someone else's limitations and start expanding into the woman you were always meant to be. Because the strongest marriages are not built on pleading, they are built on mutual respect, emotional safety, and two people who choose each other freely. And if this message reached your heart, if it made you feel understood rather than judged, supported rather than blamed, share this video with another wife who may be silently struggling. Leave a comment about one boundary or mindset shift you are choosing to make today.
and subscribe for more guidance that honors your emotional strength, healing, and self-worth, because love should never require you to beg, and strength begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself.